The top stories tonight in Y News. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. leaves for Cambodia to attend the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit and related meetings.
Authorities allegedly found new evidence that would link suspended Bureau of Corrections Chief Gerald Bantag to the killing of broadcaster Percy Lapi.
Environmental group Greenpeace says the Philippines is among the most vulnerable to climate change.
And at least 15,000 people killed by excessive hot weather in Europe this year.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Wednesday, November 9, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am William Theo.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. I am Harleen Delgado.
First in the news. The Octa Research Group says that COVID-19 cases in the country may decrease by November despite the eased rule on face masks. Janice Inhente reports why.
Even if the government's mandate on face mask wearing voluntary in outdoors and indoor spaces, Octa Research fellow Dr. Nicanor Austriaco believes that this won't have much effect on the number of cases of COVID-19 in the country. He said that despite the eased rule on mask mandate, COVID-19 cases may possibly decrease by November due to high population immunity or vaccination rate in the country. Contrary to the projection of the Department of Health that Philippines may record between 2,500 and 18,000 daily cases by December.
I am actually hopeful that by the end of November, we will be lower than 2,500 daily cases, even with the lifting of the indoor mask mandate and face-to-face classes, because there's data from other places in the world that shows that it is the population immunity, the herd immunity, that is driving the pandemic now rather than many of the minimum public health standards that we have been able to maintain over the last 2 years.
Health experts said the decision to ease mask mandate was driven by scientific evidence that the vaccines play a major role in curbing COVID-19 cases in the country. Meanwhile, majority of the Filipinos still choose to wear face mask for added layer of protection.
Gusto ko pa rin pong mag-face mask gawa nga po ng, siyempre po, exposed po ako sa labas kahit pa paano. Meron pa rin po akong protection.
Hindi pa rin po ako kasi sigurado tsaka mahirap na magkasakit.
Malaki pa rin po yung chance na magkaroon ng COVID po, so need pa rin magsuot ng face mask.
Janice Inhente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. leaves for Cambodia to attend the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summits and related meetings. In his pre-departure speech, the president said he will raise some regional issues at the ASEAN Summit. Nelma Ribohok reports.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. underscored that his attendance and participation in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summits, scheduled from November 10 to 13, will promote and protect the country's interest in ASEAN. The president vowed to push and emphasize regional cooperation on various issues. Further, he said the ASEAN would be an instrument to address regional issues such as the COVID-19 pandemic.
We will emphasize regional cooperation on maritime security, climate change, food security, health cooperation, and economic recovery, amongst others. We will also address regional issues such as the pandemic and the situation in Myanmar, developments in the South China Sea, and the ongoing conflict between Russia and the Ukraine, among other important matters.
The chief executive also said he will have bilateral meetings with a few of his ASEAN counterparts and dialogue partners at the sidelines of ASEAN Summit.
We will also be having bilateral meetings with some of my counterparts in ASEAN and ASEAN's dialogue partners. I will seek further cooperation in key priorities of my administration, as well as how to explore what we can do to come together to address the most pressing issues of the region. I look forward as well to meeting with the Filipino community in Cambodia.
According to the President, he would also promote the Philippines not just an investment and tourism center, but a global partner for other ASEAN member states. The ASEAN Summit is the highest policy-making body in ASEAN, comprising the heads of state and government of ASEAN member states. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
And as the Senate begins its marathon budget deliberations, a Senate leader pushes for the reduction of confidential and intelligence fund. Harleen Delgado will tell us why.
The Senate has opened today its plenary debates on the 2023 national budget. Senate Minority Leader Aquilino Coco Pimentel questioned the proposed confidential and intelligence funds for several agencies. The senator pointed out that 3 more agencies will be given confidential funds: the Office of the Vice President, the Department of Education, and the Office of the Solicitor General. Pimentel stressed that new allocations for confidential funds should be discouraged, as these might reoccur in the succeeding budgets.
Na kung pwede, wag nang umpisahan o wag na umpisahan muli. Kasi pag naumpisahan, ang hirap hintuin eh. Paulit-ulit na po. Pag umpisahan natin yan, nagiging floor amount pa yan. And then every year na, parang commitment na. If we are prioritizing expenditures, hindi po ba mas maganda na idala na lang natin ito sa mas importanteng mga gastusin ng ating bansa, yung mga pangangailangan po ng ating taong bayan ngayon? Pagkain, ayuda, trabaho.
Senate Finance Committee Chairperson Sonny Angara, who sponsored the budget, explained that this was not the first time that the agencies were given confidential funds. He added that the heads of agencies have the flexibility to decide on what contingencies they tend to address with the funds. However, Pimentel emphasized that there are agencies already that are focused on security-related matters. He also took note that the proposed amounts for the confidential funds are huge.
Well, perhaps the amounts seem enormous to us, Your Honor, but I suppose we should also take it in perspective that the budgets are also growing. So when we compare it to previous amounts, there was a smaller budget then. So relative to the total budget, that amount perhaps is on the same level, Your Honor.
Pero mahirap po yun if we... Kasi dapat ito merong specific reason why. There's a specific reason why we're giving confidential and intelligence, security related, etc. Para sa akin po, mahirap po gawing automatic na parang percentage of the budget.
Pimentel underscored that there is a need to ensure the submission of reports to Congress on how the confidential and even intelligence funds will be spent. The Senate leader will propose to reduce the confidential and intelligence funds and reallocate them to fill in the budget deficit or to fund social programs. Pimentel noted that the country will need to borrow 1.6 trillion pesos to fund a portion of the national budget. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God. The procurement service of the Department of Budget and Management, or PSDBM, will continue to function in the government. In today's Senate budget debates, Senate Minority Leader Aquilino Coco Pimentel asked the Department of Budget and Management, or DBM, if the PSDBM remains relevant despite the existence of Bids and Awards Committee in government agencies. DBM Secretary Amena Pangandaman, as relayed to Senate Finance Committee Chairperson Sonny Angara, said the PSDBM is still needed, noting that they obtain savings from its purchases. Angara said a special audit was already conducted. The DBM admitted that there were leakages in the processes of PSDBM and that reforms are necessary. The agency added that the PSDBM will focus on its mandate to procure common use supplies and equipment. Earlier, several lawmakers called for the abolition of the PSDBM, citing its supposed inefficiencies in government purchases. The PSDBM has been one of the subjects of several congressional investigations, including the controversial purchases of medical supplies from formerly Pharmaceutical Corporation and the DepEd laptops.
And for the news abroad, a small number of people aged over 65 years in England were mistakenly given the wrong type of flu jab. Ryuji Sasaki will give us the details live. Go ahead, Ryuji.
Marielle, National Health Service England or NHSE is investigating a potentially serious case after some over 65 years old were administered with a standard egg culture influenza vaccine or QIVE and is known to be less effective. In a letter from the NHSE Southeast Regional Team, it is stated that they are working with practices and pharmacists to contact and inform the affected patients of the error and will be offered to receive the appropriate vaccine. According to officials, initial investigations suggest that the error was caused by a mixture of a recording coding error and a genuine administration of QIVE. An NHS spokesman reaffirmed that there is no clinical risk to the small number of patients affected. The NHSE continues to encourage those invited for a flu jab to book as soon as possible through their GP, local pharmacy, or at one of the new national booking services sites. Back to you, Marielle.
Thank you, Ryuji Sasaki, for that live report. Archaeologists in Tuscany, Italy, uncovered dozens of newly discovered ancient bronze artifacts. Paul Gatchalian will give us the details live. Yes, Paul, go ahead.
Marielle, archaeologists date more than 24 bronze statues back to the ancient Roman times, all perfectly preserved since the 1st century AD. The statues were uncovered in the ruins of the Great Bat Sanctuary in the hilltop town of San Canciano de Bani in the Siena province, which the archaeologists have been exploring since 2019. Professor Jacopo Taboli, who coordinated the exploration, claims this to be a very significant discovery, linking the statues back to the era of great conflicts and the period of Tuscany's great transformation. The statues are believed to have been used in water rituals when the bathhouse of San Canciano represented a multicultural and multilingual haven of peace in the midst of war and political instability. Alongside the statues, thousands of bronze, silver, and gold coins were uncovered by the team, plus wonderful inscriptions in Etruscan and Latin within the Italian spa. Culture Minister Genaro Sangiuliano claimed that the discovery proves that Italy is also a country with immense and unique treasures. The statues and other artifacts have been taken to a laboratory for restoration, eventually to be placed in a new museum in San Canciano. Back to you, Marielle.
Thank you, Paul Gatchalian, for that live report. We'll share more global stories with you later, but for now, back to you, Harleen and Will.
Thank you, Marielle.
Manila Electric Company or Meralco announces that consumers' electric bill will have increased this November. JP Nunez tells us why.
The Manila Electric Company or Meralco announces an 8 centavo per kilowatt-hour power rate adjustment which will reflect on consumers' electric bill this November. The utility company said this is due to the overall rate increase of the generation charge recorded this November.
Well, we would just like to officially announce that there will be a slight upward adjustment of 8 centavos per kilowatt-hour. To be exact, it's 0.0844.
Meralco customers who are consuming 200 kilowatt-hour per month will have additional 17 peso on their bill, while those consuming 300 kilowatt-hour per month will have 25 peso increase. 400 kilowatt-hour will increase 34 pesos and those consuming 500 kilowatt-hour will have 42 pesos increase on their bill. Meanwhile, Meralco also said that the 7.8 billion peso refund, which one of the 4 distribution-related refund directed by the Energy Regulatory Commission, is set to end this November. The other refund will get by the consumer on December this year, January, and May next year.
Yung impact ng rate adjustments on the bills of our customers has been tempered by the implementation of 4 distribution-related refunds by Meralco beginning in 2021.
JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Authorities allegedly found new evidence that would link suspended Bucor Chief Gerald Bantag to the killing of Percy Lapid. Dante Amento tells us why.
Justice Secretary Crispin Rimulya disclosed that broadcaster Percy Lapid went to the house of suspended Bucor Chief Gerald Bantag in Laguna last September 2022. Lapid taken photos and videos of Bantag's house and vehicles that made the latter angry.
It's a significant lead that he was absent on that day because on that day Percy Lapid went to his house to examine, to take pictures of his house and his vehicles. And that the narrations are very clear, that given to me were very clear about this matter.
In his program, Lapid mentioned a Cinderella man who is working in the DOJ or swiftly turned rich with luxurious cars and expensive house and lot.
Ayan, makikita ninyo ang hilera ng kanyang mga sasakyan. Ang balita natin, 11 ang kanyang sasakyan dyan sa mamahaling subdivision na yan, sa lalawigan ng Laguna. Ayan, nakikita ninyo yung klase ng mga bahay. Para ka na rin nasa Ayala, Alabang.
Rimulya believes the incident is necessary and can be used as evidence to the killing of Lapid. The Justice Chief added when Bantag learned that Lapid went to his house, he did not attend a very important graduation rites of the University of Perpetual Help and did not also return to Bilibid in that day.
Yun yung, pagkatapos na lumabas yung Cinderella man ni Percy Lapid, that was the basis. So that day itself, nung nalaman ni General Bantag na andun si Percy Lapid sa Laguna, medyo nagalit. Nawala na siya, he didn't anymore go back to Bilibid. Yung kanyang hindi pagbalik doon was a sign also that he was very mad. He was very, very livid about it.
Meanwhile, Rimulya believes that Bantag and Zulueta are still in the country. They are both principals of 2 counts of murder filed by NBI and PNP over the killing of Lapid and middleman June Villamor.
I would say so because remember, they're government officials. Hindi ka pwedeng umalis ng Pilipinas pag wala kang travel authority unless they secured passports that just did not reflect their true professions.
Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Department of Justice and the Philippine General Hospital are expected to ink a memorandum of agreement tomorrow. This is over the transfer of 120 cadavers of Bilibid inmates from Eastern Funeral Homes, which is accredited by the Bureau of Corrections. These corpses will undergo autopsy by Dr. Rachel Fortun to determine the causes of their deaths. The NBI and the PNP will be given the results of the autopsies that may also warrant further investigation.
Ang mawa namin will be about turning over 120 of these cadavers to the PGH for autopsy, for pathological examinations. Alamin natin kung anong cause of death based on the carpeta and based on the death certificate and the actual autopsy to be conducted by Dr. Fortun. 120 of them will be turned over. That's the capacity of the PGH.
The Philippine National Police is now readying their tracker team to arrest the suspects in the Percy Lapid slay once a warrant of arrest is issued against them. Leia Ilagan will tell us why.
The Philippine National Police or PNP is now monitoring the whereabouts of suspended Bureau of Corrections Chief Director General Gerald Bantag and Senior Jail Officer 2 Ricardo Zulueta. This after the PNP and NBI filed 2 counts of murder complaints against them in connection with the death of Percy Lapid and Cristito Villamor Palania. But PNP Chief Police General Rodolfo Azurin Jr. said they will deploy tracker team once the court issued a warrant of arrest against them.
In the event na lumabas yung kanilang may warrant of arrest sila, definitely there will be tracker teams to look for them. So far ngayon, sabi ko nga, lahat yan ay we are just monitoring, we are just validating mga informations kung nasaan sila dahil the case has been filed direct ordinary filing, so we have yet to wait for the determination of prima facie evidence by the prosecutor's office.
The PNP is also willing to provide Bantag and Zulueta a security detail to ensure their safety.
Sila ay open sa vulnerable sila ngayon. So ang ano dyan is if they feel that they need security, sabi ko nga we are willing to provide at their own choice kung sino yung police na gusto nilang mag-provide ng security sa kanila. Dahil ang hinahanap po natin dito ay katarungan, hindi lamang sa mga namatay but justice din para sa kanila.
General Azurin added that the safety of Bantag and Zulueta is important in the Percy Lapid slay case.
Kasi of course we also wanted their safety so that they can face the charges that was filed against them, so that we would really know who are the persons responsible in the killing of Percy Lapid as well as John Villamor.
Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Philippines is among the most vulnerable to climate change according to environmental group Greenpeace. The environmental group also calls on the public to take the steps to help save the environment. Eileen Cerudo has the report.
The Philippines is experiencing a climate crisis. It is currently the most tropical cyclone-visited country in the world, averaging to 20 tropical cyclones per year. This year, the country already had 17 tropical cyclones, including severe tropical storm Paeng, which affected around 4 million Filipinos and took the lives of 150 individuals.
Ang Pilipinas ay isa siya sa mga natuturingang most vulnerable countries, no? In fact, yung very recent study na lumabas on disaster risk, yung Pilipinas ay number 1 na.
According to Virginia Benosa-Larin, climate change campaigner of Greenpeace, the Philippines should improve its disaster preparedness, especially when more severe storms are bound to enter in the coming years. She also said the Philippines is eligible to become a beneficiary for the Climate Compensation Fund eyed by the delegates of the United Nations Climate Change Conference.
Talagang kinakailangang humingi tayo ng loss and damage mula sa mga rich countries kung saan sila historically napatunayan na malaki ang greenhouse gas emission na kontribusyon nila at ibinibigay na nagkakaroon ng masamang dulot o pinsala sa mga developing countries.
Each individual should also take a step in caring for the environment. One is recycling. Instead of throwing out plastic containers, reuse them to store food or other items. They can also begin composting to recycle organic matter such as leaves or food scraps to make fertilizers. Buying local products can also help in reducing greenhouse gas emissions.
It will not get better anymore. Climate change is impacting us and it's upon us. Hindi na siya mag-improve unless we do something drastic about it, but we really have to act now.
The government should also begin adaptation and provide assistance in relocating residents in areas that will be affected by the rise of sea level. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Singaporean government is looking to increase the number of hospital beds in the next few years. Joselito Liquido tells us why live. Yes, Joselito?
Good evening, Marielle. Public hospitals in Singapore are seeking to add more beds to ease their operational burdens due to a sudden rise in number of patients with serious medical conditions, and an increase in number of children contracting COVID-19. Long waiting time for wards was highlighted by local media in hospitals last week, where people were reported to wait for as long as 50 hours to be given rooms. Although the annual average demand for emergency department attendance was dropped from 75,000 emergency cases per month in 2019 to 63,000 this year, the number of patients with serious medical conditions has increased from 8% in 2019 compared to 11% this year. According to Ong Ye Kung, Singapore's health minister, 1,900 beds are already planned to be added in the next 5 years. They also plan to implement short-term strategies, including activating more transitional care facilities and stopping reserving beds for COVID-19 patients. Ong added that the country can now allow these flexibilities in hospital beds usage since majority of the population has been fully vaccinated or has already recovered from the virus. However, the health minister stresses that the pandemic is certainly not over for the hospitals and healthcare workers. Meanwhile, the situation was also aggravated by delays in construction of healthcare facilities due to the pandemic, which would have added as many as 100 hospitals' beds. Marielle?
Thank you, Joselito Liquido, for that live report. In East Africa, Uganda's capital, Kampala, has been hit with the Ebola strain, which prompted the nation's education minister to shorten school term by 2 weeks to reduce close contacts in densely packed classrooms. Education Minister Janet Kataha Museveni, who is also the wife of the president of Uganda, has decided to close preschools, primary and secondary schools in the country on November 25. According to their health ministry, the country has a total 135 confirmed cases, along with 53 fatalities as of Monday. Among the children, 8 of the 23 confirmed cases have died. Unlike the more prevalent Zaire strain that spread during previous outbreaks in the neighboring Democratic Republic of the Congo, the Ebola virus circulating in Uganda is the Sudan strain, for which there is currently no known vaccine. At least 15,000 were killed by excessive hot weather in Europe this year, according to World Health Organization official. From London, United Kingdom, here's Jella Garmino to tell us the details live. Yes, Jella.
Marielle, Europe's World Health Organization, or WHO Regional Director Hans Klug, said in a statement on Monday, based on country data submitted so far, it is estimated that at least 15,000 people died specifically due to the heat in 2022. He added that nearly 4,000 deaths in Spain, more than 1,000 in Portugal, more than 3,200 in the United Kingdom, and around 4,500 deaths in Germany were reported by health authorities during the 3 months of summer. Following successive heat waves, the period from June to August reached exceptionally high temperatures, the highest ever since records began in Europe. Whilst expecting the numbers to increase as more countries in the region reports of excess death due to the heat, the WHO Regional calls for immediate action. This comes after representatives from around the world gathering in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt for the 2022 United Nations Climate Change Conference, or COP27, to discuss actions and agreements in response to the climate emergency. Extreme temperatures can harm people who suffer chronic heart disease, breathing problems, and diabetes, whilst heat stress, when the body cannot cool itself, is the leading cause of the weather death in the European region, WHO said, warning that increasing heat waves and extreme weather will lead to more diseases and deaths in the coming decades, unless drastic action is taken. Back to you, Marielle.
All right, thank you, Jella Garmino, reporting live from London, United Kingdom. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Maria Latoza reporting live from Perth, Australia. Good evening.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. discussed with the officials of the Department of Energy, or DOE, and other relevant agencies the immediate and medium-term plans for upgrading the energy and power supply across the country. The Energy Department has been updating the Philippine Energy Development Plan to support the administration's continuous exploration of alternative energy sources and climate change adaptation. In a statement, the Office of the Press Secretary, or OPS, said Marcos tapped the department to ensure the sufficient supply of energy in the country. They added that Marcos is expected to raise the issue about the energy security during the upcoming ASEAN Summit. Marcos is pushing for the transition to renewable energy to mitigate the worst impacts of climate change in the country.
The Philippine Space Agency, or PhilSA, stated that the metal parts found in the seas of Mindoro and Palawan are probably part of the rocket launch recently by China. Last October 31st, PhilSA warned the public that China launched the Long March 5B rocket in Hainan province. This is estimated to fall in drop zone 2 to about 39 kilometers from Busuanga, Palawan. Part of this was believed to be recovered by fishermen in the waters of Calintaan Occidental, Mindoro, and are now in the custody of the Philippine Coast Guard. The booster is estimated to fall in Zone 1 about 72 kilometers from Bajo de Mansinloc, and PhilSA has no report yet of its discovery. PhilSA said that the Philippines is on the process of ratification of the registration and liability conventions that provide legal basis and means to claim compensation in case of damage or injury to any property and or people within the Philippine territory. PhilSA advised anyone who found these kind of debris to report to authorities.
It is highly likely that the pieces of debris reportedly found off the waters of Calintaan, Occidental Mindoro on November 7 and 8 were also part of the said rocket component. They use this small explosive sometimes, and these explosives have sometimes residue on the surface of the rocket debris. So, and sometimes they are toxic.
The Commission on Elections has announced the start of the Register Anywhere project, or RAP, starting December 17 in 5 malls in the National Capital Region. This program will run for 10 weekends and will be held every Saturday and Sunday until January 29, 2023. However, there will be no registration on December 24, 25, and 31, 2022 and January 1, 2023. COMELEC spokesperson John Rex Laudianco said the malls will be determined at a later date. The operational plan of RAP has been approved by the Commission on Bank on October 26.
Our Kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity.
Good day. I'm Brother Eli Soriano of the members of the Church of God International. I want to invite you to join us in a minute of prayer every day to pray for humanity and the whole world as we go through these perilous times. While safety measures like washing of hands and strengthening of our immune systems may help us through this horrible predicament, there is still no precaution or cure more powerful than God's mighty intervention. And we need His intervention now more than ever. It doesn't matter what religion you are in or what denomination you belong. This is an invitation for all the people around the world who cares for the future of their family, friends, loved ones, and humanity as a whole. Everybody is welcome to pray with us. For more details, you can check out the description box below. Thank you very much, and I hope to hear from you soon. May God bless you.
And before we close, we will leave you with the word, giving glory to God. From the book of 1 John, chapter 2, verse 1. It says, "My little children, these things write I unto you, that ye sin not. And if any man sin, we have an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ the righteous." And those are the reasons behind the news, November 9, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Harleen Delgado.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.